Welcome to a Raw Talk session with DOLLIE INDIGOSTAR, part of my Raw Talk series on Knowledge Portal. Today I talk with Mentor Tracey Ash, boots on the ground in Egypt. Ascension Knowledge with Tracey Ash. Let's take a look.
Okay, so Abusir is a 5th dynasty site. So we're looking at around 2950 BC, something like that.
Wow.
And it's an extraordinary site which is not ticketed, so it's not accessible to the public in any way. It's being currently researched. It was used between the 5th dynasty and the 27th dynasties.
Okay.
So we have a massive span in terms of the age in which this site was used. And interestingly, where we see a renaissance of use in later periods, it gives us the information that we need, the missing information in terms of what the primary use of the site was during the 5th dynasty, because you wouldn't have seen glyphs at that time, for example. So the later periods bring the glyphs, which give us the text, which then also give us an indication of the origins of the site, and it gives us also much more of a context in terms of how the site was used. Abusir, it's like where I'm sitting here, I can see Saqqara, the step pyramid, which has the most extraordinary underground temple complex. And the complex was walled for the priests with false doors, and one original door that permitted the priests to enter into the underground temple complex or city, which is very Atlantis in its nature. It's a crystal complex of tunnels that we utilize for rituals and ceremonies. I mean, it's extraordinary. So we go in there on special permission. This is not any kind of fantasy. This is the work that we do. We do the underground research that is spoken about in our community. So that's what we're doing.
Amazing.
For our advanced ascension.
You're the boots on the ground. Yes, you are the boots on the ground.
Yeah, and I'm a gatekeeper, and my home is like a minute's walk. I've got this site in my backyard. From here, we see my site, my original site is Abu Ghurab. And if you're aware of advanced ascension in our community, then you'll be aware of the incredible crystal Hotep, which is set at the 4 cardinal directions. It's not only an advanced ascension technology, it's a time machine, and it was utilized in ancient times to set the sacred and sovereign path and timeline for now. So the ancient Egyptians were particularly aware of how to read the celestial bodies, and also to read the destiny of humanity and what would happen now in terms of the procession gateway, and what would happen now in terms of the elite power agenda, the global syndicate agenda, in terms of reversing our timelines that we have a rightful, absolutely rightful access to during these times. What the ascension pioneers and ascension warriors and those star seeds who have indeed created an appointment at this time on Earth to build new Earth, the false timeline agenda is being massively orchestrated. So many star seeds, indigos, warriors of New Earth are feeling like every molecule, every structure in their body, in their psychology, in their consciousness is being reversed. So we have these chaotic ascension symptoms where we're also feeling the despair of the planet in terms of the collective too. So the collective density is being driven down, and it's my role in terms of my work as a gatekeeper and specialist in the timelines, and a specialist in, for example, these sites that you see behind me. I've spent many years researching the energy pathways and ancient sites, which disclose the technologies and the access and the entry to the sacred timelines once you've moved through particular initiations. Now, this part is really important, and we connected because of this. There's a reality gap in our arena, which is connected with real-time initiation, real direct experiences in terms of energy pathway work, quality earth work, real work with the ancient ones, the ancestors. So what we have at sites such as these, we've got a combination of both pyramid technologies and solar temples. The temples are synonymous with the timelines, as are the pyramids. However, you'll have, for example, certain texts which describe the temples as the mansions of millions of years. And the temples and the pyramids are connected in terms of their sacred architecture and what they mean within the context of our own timelines. Once we can move beyond the density of third dimension and fourth dimension. Now, what is problematic in our arena is that we can be driven by a third dimensional learning, which is also problematic because the initiation at these sites is sacred calling us into a quantum initiation in terms of our education, and a quantum initiation in terms of the timelines and the gateways. Now, when we have, for example, the solar temple, and this is important because one of your key questions with me is, how do we step into these portals and gateways and actually really understand what is happening when we enter these gateways, these portals of information? Are we working safely, for example?
Yes.
And again, this is where my interest very strongly turned to Egypt in 2011 when I opened the first Stargate, and that immediately was filmed, and it demonstrated the law of Maat when white feathers were materialized through portals, and there was a spontaneous materialization of the ancient ones that synchronized with the channeled information that was being directed from the site. So I'm just setting the scene in terms of my interest in advanced ascension and my specialism in gateways, portals. I'm particularly interested in the gateways that house the sacred timelines, our sacred and sovereign timeline, our destiny, and how we can time travel to access the most relevant and evolutionary data so that we can be absolutely the best of ourselves.
And we can do that within ourselves, can't we? We can activate that, each and every one of us.
Yes, we can. And it's synonymous with the type of training that you receive. So the frequency of your mentor or teacher is extraordinarily important. I have a very special interest in the act which is the part of the soul that has entered into contracts and completion in a particular lifetime, which means we can time travel and we can assist in terms of our incarnations, in terms of the timing of our incarnations. So we can always assist wherever we are in terms of cycles of time, which they are. And this is what the Precession Gateway is all about. And it's prophesized in, of course, the Dendera Zodiac. And so too are the end times, and how humanity navigates the end times to mature, to evolve, to awaken, to advance, so that we can truly become the custodians of the planet. That part is very, very important. So when in our arena there was frenzy over, for example, the Mayan calendar, I was here in Egypt activating the stargates, working very, very carefully with the Dendera Zodiac, working very carefully, listening to the requests of each site, and waiting for the extremely important data, which allows me to understand how to show up in the gateway, how to travel through the timelines in the correct protocol, how to work in advanced alchemy, and how to maintain that advanced alchemy so that we are firmly closing the obstacle of the ego behind. And this is why gateways and the technologies of sites are important, because the sites are architecturally designed to not only lock into the earth as our master record keeper and also the torsion field of the planet, but also the sites are also dialed into particular star systems, which also then give us... It all connects. It all connects, and it gives us our future timelines too. So we can stand in these gateways and go, as a human being, as an ordinary human being, number one, I am not conventional. And number two, I am a unique sacred soul on the planet. And number three, I can indeed make an influence and make the time I spend on the planet matter. So I leave behind a legacy for my children. Right?
Amazing. Yes.
This is so important. And at the same time, this is what we've discovered in terms of our research, is this, that all of the sacred union work here was done, all of the initiation work that was done was to always connect us with the creation story, was always to connect us with the creator gods, was always to help us to remember
perfect
the gods
timing
of the stars, right?
Do you think this is perfect timing?
Yes!
Yes.
Okay, and when we get to such an advanced stage in our ascension, we become the gateway. We become the portal, so that the kind of contact we have, we not only can stand in the sky with the gods can stand with us on the planet. Now, this is important in terms of my prophecies that have been downloaded over the last couple of years, because of course our timeline is being reversed by an elite agenda, and it is extremely dark in its purpose and its motivation, and we need more star seeds, indigos, crystals, etc., etc. We need the warriors of light to stand strong and immovable so that we can open those gateways and bring the level of contact in that can correct these toxic elite power structures. And as a child, I knew I would come in and do this work. In my 20s, I knew I was coming in to do this work. In my 20s, I knew I would work with very unusual gateway work to assist the ascension. So my timeline is pre-planned. I am always synchronizing with information that gives me the signs in terms of my pathways. What I just want to share, just a kind of super exciting moment, is my partner reads glyphs. I mean, he's a glyph expert and genius. So we're out here in the Abusir complex, and because he can read the hieroglyphs on one of the fallen obelisks, reads, "We come from Orion."
Orion. Okay.
Right?
Interesting.
So if we have the textual evidence, the academic evidence, then we're heading into some seriously good research here. So me and my partner put together advanced metaphysics. I'm a trained metaphysician. I was trained at the College of Psychic Studies, left it because my work had progressed and advanced so much. It needed to grow globally, and it needed to be taken to many communities across the planet, which I've been doing all of my career for the last 2 decades. So this isn't something that I've kind of stepped into or had a career change.
Talk. You are walking your talk. You are living your ascension
I've been walking
path.
my talk even. Yeah, I was walking my talk even when people didn't know what I was talking about, right?
Yeah, right, yeah.
And when destiny is so strong, there is nothing else, because you will be continuously rerouted until you accept who you are, what your destiny is, what you're here to be, what you're here to do. And then that allows you to be a true missionary of light for our planet and truly step into service, which is also one of the gateways I'm extraordinarily interested in. So I'm not just interested in ancient gateways and what they do. I'm interested in the gateways and how we tap into a power resource, timelines beyond our dreams, intelligence beyond our dreams, and how we channel that into transforming communities and the world that we exist in. So one of my very special interests is intelligence, how we expand the mind, how we expand our awareness, how we progress beyond academic intelligence, or how we travel beyond academic intelligence.
How we harness that energy and how we use it, and the tools that we've got. They kind of all in sync together, don't they?
They have to synchronize together. So how we step into an applied and purposeful intelligence, a quantum intelligence, that allows us to weave and heal reality and provide very precise solutions for the world today. Now, this part is very, very important. So on my gateway, I am creating events where I'm gathering souls and minds together in order to create an ascension hub where people are trained and they're initiated in the right kind of frequency. We have not only the resource and the theory to build new Earth, the intellectual resource and theory to build new Earth.
Foundation. So it's a foundation,
it's the foundation, and it's the tipping point in terms of your life force.
Yes.
So you have a metaphysical presence in the world, a metaphysical articulation through the words and the thoughts and the feelings that you use, so your frequency can penetrate the density of the false matrix. Now that part is really important, as we know we can revolutionize reality, but what's been on the minds and the hearts and the lips of individuals in the community is, how the hell are we going to do this? Right?
How are we going to do it? How are we going to do it?
We're going to start to create the silence so that we can truly listen. So COVID's providing one opportunity, and that is to actually enter the real internal work, inner work, that is incredibly significant in terms of truly listening to what your sacred calling is. Now that's important. How we met is important. For example, to be synchronized with guidance, to also recognize the signs, so you're entwined with another human being in a sacred dance and in cosmic energies that give you the absolute truth and the absolute confirmation that there is a meeting and a purpose for meeting another person on this planet. So these times, especially in terms of New Earth, it's about collaboration. It's about connecting with individuals who are not faking the work.
Yes.
But who are doing the work.
Yeah, walking the talk and...
Yeah.
Hearing the call.
Yes, and taking action in terms of the call and what the call means, not just once, but every single day, so that our sacred and sovereign timeline is not derailed, because ultimately our free will is being called into question currently. So this is much more than mediocre law of attraction, for example, because we have to step into the total honoring, the total respect, the total dedication, because that's where our greatest battle is. It's with ourselves in many respects first, so that we can be in charge of our destiny. And we can be in a relationship with ourselves on a completely different level, and on a completely different level of resource and intelligence. And that means we must move into soul education, sacred education, move into the quantum presence of our sacred self and understand what that means. You know, as we reference, for example, ancient sites, ancient gateways, the ancient ones, what does that mean for ourselves? And then what does that work mean in terms of, especially with gateway work, what does that work mean?
What nationality are you? Are you English, Tracey?
Of course I'm English, but I've spent so much time traveling and absorbing everyone else's accent. I spent a lot of time in Japan. It's one of my hubs in terms of my schools, and a lot of time in the States too. Because I'm a channel, so when you're interviewing me, I'm also channeling.
Yes.
Although I did train myself, so I could work as an advanced channel, trance channel,
like a conduit.
Being conscious,
a conduit,
yeah, and being conscious allows me to fire out the advanced ascension frequencies. So when, for example, I'm working a conference, I can demonstrate what advanced ascension is rather than just talk about it. Because when we talk about it, it's very, very boring. But when we are activated in advanced ascension and we can demonstrate it and show people what it is, like open them to that gateway, it creates miracles and inspiration and downloads and synchronicities for the individuals who are experiencing that gateway. That's the kind of stuff that I love doing.
I've got this thing, and I always say to people, we're like Wi-Fi. We are Wi-Fi, aren't we? We give off these little signals that go off like Wi-Fi to people. Like you give out these call-ins and they just come, the people come.
Once we've recalibrated the wound, and my terminology for that is wound weaving, and I utilize mystery school processes, technologies, and protocol for that, and I'm an alchemist too. Once we get through the density of the wound and we penetrate it, then we can start to become extremely potent in the way that we can consciously influence in advanced ascension frequencies. And so our metaphysics becomes an incredibly precise tool in the way it creates our reality and the way that our thoughts and our feelings and our words can hold another individual, change their frequency for them as well. And one of our conversations was to explore what the new era of work is going to be in terms of these times. And again, our work has to be metaphysical. There's so much talk about metaphysics in our arena. However, training is dubious because there have been a lot of gateways that have been bound in 4D, and 4D is still problematic because it doesn't penetrate the wound.
No.
So you can't get the integration and the embodied release of the advanced ascension frequencies, which is what you really, really want. You want to be able to detect your own field. You want others to be able to detect your own field too. So your light is present, and that's your resource, and it's continuously supporting your biology, your heart, and your mind. So you're up-leveling your intelligence and your psychology and your physical energy levels continuously. So this is like being in a loop where you're producing your own elixir of life continuously.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
This is what I'm super interested in, so that we
it's like
really
a constant
move
renewal. A renewal of soul, renewal of energy, renewal of life path. It's like a constant, ongoing journey that's all directed to the ascension path. This is what you're saying.
So remember this. Our sacred timelines are always secular in their nature. We're always working on a dance. We're always working in a spiral. Whereas the third dimensional timeline is much denser. And also it only gives us a fractal of our potential, as it is bound in anti-evolutionary laws and values, etc. So that part is extremely important in terms of any kind of gateway work that you're doing, because if you're locking into density and you're locking predominantly into the third dimensional timeline and values, then the gateways that you will operate and initiate may also be false light gateways. And we have to be very, very careful with false light gateways, because that is, of course, what the orchestration is playing off currently.
How can we tell the difference? How can we tell the difference between that?
Okay. we tell the difference always in frequency. And this is why it's always important to be prepared when you go to sites. So I've seen it for many years with many, many, many attendees in terms of trainings and in terms of tours. You have two types of clients. One who is a spirituality tourist. They won't listen. They won't sit to listen.
Yeah.
And what you must do is you must prepare yourself to not just be excited by this visual landscape, but to stand still and to absolutely, utterly first honor yourself, reset and balance. You draw the line before you dive in, right? It's really important having the restraint and the discipline and the dedication. And this is where mentors are really important, because they'll stabilize your blind spots for you. So that part is really critical. And you prepare yourself in terms of your own listening. So that part is really important. Whatever your protocol is to reset, you must reset when you're working seriously with the gateways.
So we must listen within to what? Our heart and mind. Our heart? Our consciousness? Our hearts
and mind. Because remember, everything that we are can be utilized in this protocol and process. So as our awareness amplifies,
it has
our
to
intelligence amplifies. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's important that we can feel at the same time as process and articulate, so we're understanding the realities that we're experiencing, so that we're functioning as a multi-intelligence system, a complex intelligence system. Because remember, in the third dimensional timeline, we're not operating as multi-dimensional intelligence systems. We've been restricted in terms of the third dimensional timeline. So what we're doing is we need the stillness so we can resurrect the space within ourselves, so we can start to activate the various gateways or portals of intelligence, which allows us to process and create our reality with greater intelligence. So we're able to process and understand so much more of the realities that we're stepping into. And remember this, these are sites of millions of years. So this takes a massive amount of dedication. I mean, I'm here and this is my 11th year, and we're always discovering.
You're part of a team out there. How many is there in your team out there with you? How many do you work with?
Last time we were working in Egypt was just in end of October, November. We created an Ascension specialism project. So I had 7 of my most advanced students with me. So my partner is, as I explained earlier, he's an incredible academic. He's studying a PhD at Cairo University. He's a professor. His work is extraordinary. So this is where the academic and the metaphysics meet.
Yes.
And we're doing some extremely interesting work that is unprecedented in our community.
Yes.
We also have incredible contact with the ancient ones. I'm also a trance medium as well. So when I call upon the ancestors, I think this is also a good protocol in terms of protection at gateways.
Okay, yes.
So we must always interact with the ancient ones who protect the gateways, and we must always honor them.
Our ancestors. That's correct. Our ancestors.
Our own ancestors and the ancient ones.
And the ancient ones. Okay.
So our own ancestors will create a degree of protection for us and protocol in terms of how we approach the ancient ones and the gatekeepers.
Yes.
And recognizing the ancestors and the ancient ones is also part of the process of being allowed through. So when your metaphysics ability is genuine, that's when you're allowed genuine access.
Access,
right?
Okay. It's all alchemy, okay? I'm right? Alchemy within. Yeah.
We know that alchemy is a science.
Yes.
So this isn't metaphysics by the seat of your pants. This is academic
science as well.
Metaphysics.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's
Astounding.
quantum, it's 0 point, it's reality work that is absolutely precise, it's advanced psychology, it's advanced intelligence, it's advanced healing at the same time. So everything that we do as a gateway of protocol has to be incredibly precise and accurate and absolutely advanced and authentic. Right? This is what I've always spoken about throughout my whole career, that our training must be as authentic as possible. And again, these times have birthed so many false prophets in our community that so many receive incredibly mediocre training with the promise of metaphysics and they never experience it.
Exactly, and there's nothing at the end of it, which leaves a lot of people empty and forever searching.
And it leaves a lot of individuals in compromised gateways and they've been hijacked.
Yes.
Once again, in terms of false light projections and gateways that are indeed governed by darker forces. So again, we have to be incredibly careful. Now, what I just want to say about this is everything that I do, if I don't have the experience in my reality, if I don't have contact and it doesn't show up and I'm not in a situation where craft materialize and I get time, date and location, this is important. I'm never going to teach it unless I have that level of contact, right?
Yeah, right.
So what we're doing here is really interesting. We've got a blend of mystery school and alchemy and a working knowledge of the sites and the texts, but we've also got a working knowledge in terms of how contact works.
Okay. And how we can connect and contact. And how it...
Yeah. And how I, as a gatekeeper, can take people with me and they enter into extraordinary contact experiences that also opens the gateway for them so that they can experience the wonder of incredibly advanced contact. Now that will accelerate your ascension, your own ascension gateway, your own ascension potential, and that will also activate and advance synchronicities, telepathy, any kind of ascension gifts, advanced intelligence, timelines, traveling, etc., synchronicities, wound healing. I mean, you name it. Contact is your real-time ascension, advanced ascension accelerator or catalyst. So
I can't wait to get out there with you. I've been welcomed out there with you in June, and I cannot wait to get out there in June, all being well. I cannot wait.
I can't wait to show you the Egypt that we experience every single day.
Yes.
And we are so at ease with allowing the work to unfold as it has been destined to. And what brought me here is, in my 2015 book, I wrote about the site that I was custodian of in ancient times, Abu Ghraib, which is 5 minutes walk from this site, by the way.
Okay, wow.
So I'm back on
You're
the
back
gateway.
home. Yeah.
Yeah, that I was on in ancient times. And that's what I was speaking about, the time loop. Once we're in advanced ascension, then we can choose the time of our incarnation so that we can assist in the ascension. And that's what I have been given information on in terms of the way that we are synchronizing as a collective of advanced souls. And we've always been advanced souls. And we are the new earth builders.
Yes.
And the elite power systems are absolutely terrified of that level of quantum intelligence that can smash through the false matrix and the false power systems.
We can see them breaking down literally before our eyes, can't we? We can.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. And it's happening, although there are many, many, many divisive gateways that are in operation currently, which can also influence and impact and persuade our new earth or warriors who should be currently free. So we got to mobilize together. And that's one of our purposes in meeting, is to say, okay, we can't all do this in isolation or in little hubs. We need to bring the hubs together, and we need to get the council of ascension pioneers together, and we need to start speaking about how we really progress our community and demonstrate the miracles of real alchemy and truth and gateway work and metaphysics. And we need to lay down the next standard in terms of our community so we can get as many people through this ascension gateway.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Right. You have it.
We have it.
We have it. We have it. Now, Tracey, tell me a little bit about the goddess, because I am a big fan. I have the goddess here that I carry with me and in my heart, as always.
Okay, let me show you who I have.
Okay, show me who you have.
So I have Sekhmet.
Sekhmet, yes.
Okay, so Sekhmet is synonymous, as are all of the archaic goddesses, with the primordial waters of the creation story, from where we are conceived in terms of our blueprint as humanity. So this is really important, and that's even another interview in terms
Yes, it is. I was just thinking that.
So I have to go because I'm being told to get off site. But this is another interview,
This is another interview. Thank you so much, Tracey Ash.
Love you.
I love you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Love you.
Bye-bye. Love you. Bye-bye.